tuning in to Tackling Tomfoolery. I'm Malika Rogers.
I'm Francie Moore.
And I'm A.M. Lewis.
And we are in here. It is another recording day. We are going to muddle our way through it because I am sorely unprepared for today, even though I knew today was coming.
Well,
life does.
It's that way sometimes.
It is. Life doesn't always allow for the type of preparation I would prefer. So, we're going to get into the highs and lows, and I almost called them ups and downs because I just told y'all I'm not prepared, and I literally almost said ups and downs, and I was like, that is not what we do here. Whatever. Anyway, Francie, do you have some highs and lows?
Indeed, I do. So I'm going to try to keep this restrained because this low, for me was just more than my little heart could take. But this is about Sarah Huckabee Sanders. First off, I think it's funny that you feel like you have to keep Huckabee in your name. We can look at you and see that you got a job because you knew someone. Okay.
But can she look back at you? Because that one eye, I'm not going to say nothing else. I'm just saying the one eye, though.
Okay, so I will say that I have really tried hard not to criticize because I don't want to be that woman who, a woman gets a job she's never had before, even if she got it through a homie hookup. I know that if I start on her, I just dislike her so intensely. I'm going to talk about how unattractive and awkward I find her. And that's just beyond the pale. And I shouldn't do it. But this is how I feel. I feel like Miss Sanders, this business with Jamil this day, you just have taken it too far over the edge. And so I want you, Miss Sanders, to concentrate on what you do every day, which is lying for the racists that you and your daddy genuflect to. And I want you to keep this lady's name out of your mouth, because how are you going to tell me? How are you going to even speak on it when every day? Look, I feel like she wouldn't know a white supremacist if she doesn't know the one she lies for. She doesn't know the one she calls daddy. She doesn't know the one she looks at in the mirror. So, of course, she would feel like she is in a position to talk about who should keep their job and who shouldn't. But as far as I'm concerned, you are lucky to even have a job, because all you do all day is deflect and lie and say things that everybody knows are just patently untrue. And just because you do it less awkwardly than Sean Spicer doesn't mean that you're good at your job. It really just makes you less entertaining, if we're going to be honest. And so this whole scenario just really pissed me off. And it does make me want to say mean things about her screwface ass. But the most important part really is that she should not be, as a spokesperson of the White House, trying to influence what should happen in a private company. She's the first one to talk about First Amendment rights, and she's talked a lot about them with that whole Charlottesville event. And so what I would like to say is, stop using the Constitution as a convenient sounding board when it's something that you like, but acting like we don't still have those rights just because you and your administration wish that we did.
Right.
So that was my low. It put me in a really bad place because I was like, not only do I feel like you don't need to, and I know somebody asked her the question, but she should have just kept it moving like, hey, First Amendment rights, it's really not something that we even need to comment on because it has no bearing.
And her job is not to give her opinion anyway. It's not her job.
Way.
It's not your job, ma'am.
Right. So that was my low. But my high was, now listen, y'all know I don't wear makeup, not even so. I mean, the chances of me on any given day wearing makeup are probably lower than the chance of Chris Tucker really calling that girl back on Friday. But this Fenty those Fenty the ad that came out, it was just so gorgeous. I watched it so many times, and I didn't feel like any jealousy in my heart. Like, oh, I wish I could wear makeup. I didn't feel that. I just thought all those women were so beautiful. I thought the ad was gorgeous, and then I felt like I had to watch it because it was gorgeous. And then part of me was sort of like giving L'Oreal the finger for dropping Monroe Bergdorf. So I was like, yeah, Fenty. That she ought to hire Monroe. But anyway, I enjoyed it and it made me happy. And it was one of the few things this week that did. So I just gotta shout it out.
Yeah, I like it.
I did not see the ad, but all right. Shout out to Rihanna doing her makeup thing. I heard people like it. I have seen some social media posts of women taking pictures in their, freshly purchased Fenty foundation and whatnot. They looked good.
So, except, I'm sorry. And I don't normally do this, but Gabby and I have a problematic relationship anyway. I was like,
oh, damn it.
I like when you have a problematic relationship with a stranger. I respect it. There's nuance to it. I get it.
I feel like in my soul, I really want to love her, but she keeps making decisions that make it so hard. Like I can't look past it. But I was like, oh, yeah, Gabby, they didn't have you in the commercial for a reason. And that is so trifling and I feel terrible, but it's still how I felt.
I feel like society in all our, arguments about inclusion and respect across the board and respecting people's agency and all the things that we really just should do and as decent human beings. Somehow in the mix of that, I feel like it leaves us unable to dislike anyone who fits in a certain kind of protected. You know what I mean? Like if this is a gay man and I don't like him, I feel like I almost am not allowed to dislike him or say anything about him because he's a gay man, especially if he's a black gay man. Then it must be homophobia, or I have to temper it to make sure people don't think that's what it is, when maybe I just legitimately think he's a dick, right? So like, you can't say anything about Gabs because I call her Gabs because we're so close. I can't say anything bad about Gabs because she's a big woman, because she's a dark-skinned woman, because she's caught so much shit from people based on her looks. Right. And people have been just cruel. So if you say anything that's critical, then people will just assume you're one of those people. When really you're like, no, I just thought her makeup looked bad. But you're not. It's almost like we're not allowed to say that anymore because we want to make sure that we come across as the decent people we're trying to be. But somewhere in there, you lose the option of being like, Sarah Huckabee Sanders has a sleepy eye. Like, we're not supposed to. Like, we ain't supposed to talk about that eye. But I'm just saying, every time I see her on the news, aside from being irritated by what she's saying, I'm staring at that eye, but I probably wouldn't stare at it if she wasn't such a garbage person. If she wasn't always saying something so disrespectful and detrimental and dishonest or whatever, then I'd probably think nothing of it. I'd be looking like, oh, that hair's nice, or oh, I like that eyeshadow, or whatever. But I can't even look at anything else but that eye because I'm always so irritated by her.
Yeah, it's like my cousin. That's true.
What did you say? I didn't hear that.
I said her hair is shiny.
It is.
That is all.
That is a truth.
That is true. But my cousin once posted something on Facebook, like a meme, I think, that said, it's not that I don't like you because you're fat. You're fat because I don't like you. And I feel like that's who I am as a person. Like things that normally I would never bring, like and I tried really hard. I mean, I might have slipped when talking about Sarah, but I did not talk about her ugly shirts. I feel like she wears the worst shirts for her body. And, that's just a general criticism, but it didn't need to be brought up. But the point is, I would never, to your earlier point, be talking about how much I hate her clothes, or again, that sleepy eye if she wasn't full of.
If she wasn't awful. Yeah, she makes it awful.
Can I just say that I feel the way you feel about Gabby Ramsey, about Serena? Love her. I love her. But sometimes them wigs and weaves and her clothing choices, in my opinion, leave much to be desired. I don't think that she dresses well for her body type sometimes. And this is my coming out moment because these aren't things one says
Malibu
aloud. Right. Malibu, sometimes she looks whack to me. Love her. I think she's amazing in many ways, but putting her look together, not one of them. Not one of them. And I daren't before now say it aloud because you can't have anything but love for the GOAT. You, greatest of all time. You can't. But I just said it and it's out now and I may get
better?
I may get a piece of hate mail. I don't know.
Right. We have yet to get any real hate mail. I mean, we got one or two nasty inboxes on Facebook, but for the most part, nobody says anything. But this might be the day
that came out
that it happened. Look, I don't even disagree with you. I've been confused a few times by some choices. But
I feel like I'm out here telling these truths.
I mean,
I don't want to. You know, we pedestalize our people, and I get that. But I don't know why I can't also tell the truth in love.
But sometimes you can be on a pedestal and be wearing a bad dress up there. I mean, it can happen.
You can.
Exactly. It's like Gabby Douglas, was that her name? Where it's like, listen, this girl is so fierce. She's amazing. But are you really trying to tell me her hair is not crazy? Her hair is crazy. And she could have averted all of this by just having some braids or twists or whatever, cutting her hair short or slicking it back. So stop acting like, well, I'm not making a big... Her hair's not bigger than her amazing
not at all.
Talent,
athleticism, right? And I'm in awe. But what I'm not supposed to say? Her hair is messed up because she's a little kid. Her hair is messed up.
Black women always taking each other down.
Crabs in a barrel. Oh my gosh, I hate that. I hate crabs in a barrel. It makes me want to slap people when they say that. And I had so many arguments during those Olympics where I was like, look, I'm not making any tweets or Facebook posts or Tumblr blogs about this child's hair because that's crazy and mean. But it doesn't mean I don't see it. And I kept telling people that I can see it and still be rooting for her, still think that she's dope, still be excited every time she hits those mats, still be cheering and going crazy and like, this kid is dope because she is. I did all of that and still could see. It didn't make me blind. I don't know why they want us to be blind to that. But then when people say, I don't see color, we get mad. But I'm supposed to be like, I don't see bad hair. I mean, I see that shit. I saw it. I saw it.
I seen
it was unfortunate. I wished it didn't look like that. And I kept thinking, oh, sweetie, here you are on this like international scale. This is huge. And you don't even get to look like your best self, whatever that might look like, because you don't have the things going on in the hair area. So I just thought,
then when you found out she was with those white people, you were like, oh, yeah.
Well, I'm not even going to get on somebody we went to high school with who fits that. But anyway, sometimes fooling with the people too long makes you unaware of what your life is like and how you might need to do things a little bit differently. You can't just get up and shake it and then leave the house.
Shake it. Shake it.
A lot of them can't get up and shake it and leave the house. But anyway, it's okay. Sometimes, like I said, you can be on a pedestal and have bad hair and a terrible dress on the pedestal. That's right. Yep. You can be riding the float in a fucked up outfit. It can happen to you again. Anyway, do you have some highs and lows?
Low key, yes. My high was that I got a new tablet after I'm going to say at least over a year of having had a tablet and said tablet dying the true death, as they said, used to say on True Blood. And just kind of procrastinating, and I finally got one, and I love it, and I'm happy, and I will now hopefully go back to reading because I had started finally, allowed myself to get into some e-reading, and it was delightful, and I have more room in my purse and everything. I don't know, I just like it, and I'm happy. That's my high. So I have like multi-phase. It's brief, but it's multi-phase. So that's one high. My other high is also a low, which was the season finale of Insecure, which I thought was a great episode, but I'm sad that it's over. And then my other low connects directly to my high in a way, well, indirectly. My other low, while, like I said, low level, was, I don't know if either of you saw this, but on Awesomely Lovey's page, she said something about iPhones and Androids, and lo, the great iPhone versus Android war began. And it's so stupid to me. It's so stupid. I get that most people have preferences. I understand that. I have a preference. But I don't really want to be out here warring and clowning about fucking phones. It doesn't make sense. It is dumb. And at first I read it and I was kind of bemused because I've had both, and I don't get all hepped up about either. Don't nobody talk about my iPhone. Don't nobody say shit about Android. Android is cutting edge. It has all the stuff before iPhone does anyway. I don't get into it. But the fact that these were grown ass women really duking it out and getting in their feelings over their choice of operating system for a cell phone was stupid to me. And it hella got on my nerves, and I had to click off. And like I said, my low was low level, but it was a low nonetheless. The end.
I think I saw the comment you put on that post, and I was like, oh, okay. But, can I just say, I don't know whether I would rather have people fighting about iPhones versus Androids or Bernie versus Hillary. Like, both of these fights seem so ridiculous to me, and both of the people, don't get me wrong, I definitely am an Android user, and I feel like most people now who are iPhone users stand kind of like Beyonce's people, but I'm not going to fight you about it because nobody's going to make me use a phone that I don't want or buy $1,000 phone. Like, nobody's going to make that happen. And so if you go with God, like, I don't care what you do. But I think it just goes to show to me that DeRay said this on his podcast the other day. It's like, these days you can't just have a different opinion from someone. You have to be enemies if you disagree. And I think it's okay for people. That's why there's all this choice in the world, because some people like iPhones and some people like Androids. And I don't have to be cut rate because I like Androids, and you don't have to be a follower because you like iPhones.
Right. Or trying to ball out,
Right.
I think the argument is stupid, but I also find the argument is also often an elitist one, and I don't care for that. I don't care for people not just arguing over which phone is better, but almost arguing over who is better based on what type of phone a person has. That's what I see as the underlying issue, and I don't care for that. It's like arguing over being light skinned and dark skinned.
There is
a lot
classism
of times, and I don't like that. That's what I don't like.
Okay.
I don't care about anything, but I don't care if somebody has one. But I also don't want anybody bothering me well, you don't even have an I fill in the blank. As if that is like some kind of life status symbol that establishes who you are as a person. That's that bothers me more than people just having a preference of a phone. It's just the way they talk to each other. I mean, I don't know which of you, I know at least one of you saw, it was sometime earlier this year, I think. There was a discussion about phones on my um, Facebook page, and I'm not sure how it even got to that, but um, someone came in and wrote like 3 paragraphs about why one is better than the other and how foolish it is for people to choose X phone over this phone and how only an idiot would do that. And this is why, because scientifically and the technology. I mean, it was 3 angry, dumbass paragraphs, and all I was thinking was, who hurt you? Like, show me on the doll where the phone hurt you. Because why are you acting a whole ass fool over phones?
That's how it was in her thread.
Yeah.
And I saw someone refer to it as a lifestyle brand. That never occurred to me. That never occurred to me. And I read it and I was like, girl, please. But also, before I had an iPhone, I used to engage in some teasing with people who had them because they were fucking obnoxious about it.
Yeah.
But not any of the people I knew anyway. Not from a status conscious thing. These were like nerds who were like, but blah blah, and it's superior, and ease of functionality, and blah 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 blah. I never knew that it was really supposed to, like, there was supposed to be some class difference between people who had Androids and people who had iPhones. I know that iPhones were kind of hipstery and like everybody, like the cool kids wanted iPhones, but the way that it played out in that thread, these people don't have iPhone, you just can't afford one. Bitch, what different?
Oh my.
Ain't most people leasing phones now these days with the little 2-year plan, you pay it off bit, but it doesn't even matter. Yeah, I don't like the classism and the kind of, I am doing all of the best, most hot new shit because I have an eye, whatever. I don't care.
Not. It's absolutely not. It's just another way for people, I feel like, to be shitty to each other.
Yeah,
like we need another something to help us do
divisive
that.
thing, another division. I don't want to argue about iPhones or Bernie versus Hillary. Neither Bernie nor Hillary is about to run again. I don't think that shit is over. It's done. Nobody cares what phone you have. I would love to strike both topics from the national conversation.
Yeah, I'm completely with it.
Anyway, what are your highs and lows, Malika Rogers?
Don't be out here telling these people my Kaiser recording name.
At least I didn't say it in the voice.
These people don't know me like that.
You still have your secret privacies.
I don't. It's over now. My anonymity has ended. Yeah, honestly, as I said, life is such that I don't have a high or a low. Well, there are several lows, I guess. I do want to briefly just acknowledge Anika Jenkins just briefly, just because it is tragic and the difficulty her family was met with in just trying to find her is disheartening and disgusting and disturbing me. And, I purposely wrote on the podcast Facebook page that we will not be out here on some conspiracy theory bullshit and posting young kids Snapchat and tweets and all that. I'm not And I already knew that neither one of you would be participating in that fuck shit either. And I think what people, even though one of the primary issues is trying to get the public at large to see her as a human being, and the fact we even have to do that is stupid, but that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
What people don't realize sometimes, and what they think are their efforts to try to humanize somebody, is every time you theorize publicly, you know, her mother could potentially see that, or a good friend of hers, a real friend of hers, a relative of hers. They see that, and you take away sometimes when you talk about people in a certain way, thinking you're humanizing them, take away their humanity to a certain extent. And she stops being a person and just becomes a topic. And that's why I didn't want, aside from it just being tacky and stupid and half-baked, I didn't want to participate in a whole bunch of theories of what might have happened, because it's insensitive. There was a police killing here in Sacramento. I think that was last summer, and it was bad. The cops were clearly wrong to anybody with common sense. But I didn't discuss it on Facebook because I was Facebook friends with one of the family members. And I did not want to talk about that person to an extent of making him seem like he wasn't a person, like he wasn't attached to other people. I didn't want to do that. And I wanted to be considerate of her feelings. And she and I don't know each other personally, but we had been Facebook friends for a long time. We interact on Facebook. And I knew that was her family members. I wasn't going to do it. And she ended up posting and saying, I appreciate everyone thinks when they're posting that they're being helpful, that they want my family to know they're being supportive because they are, talking about what happened. She's like, but sometimes just don't. Sometimes just be considerate of us. I know you think you're helping, but it doesn't always help. Sometimes it's hurtful for us, for you all to do that. And so I'm trying to have the same kind of respect when it comes to this child. So anyway, I'm just acknowledging the loss, the tragedy, the wrongdoing that seems to be behind even just finding her. And anyway, I'm thinking about her people, and especially her mother. And high, I don't know. I didn't really, like I said, get my life together with a high. I did just come from back to school night with Muffin. So I guess I'll call that a high. It was cool. She seems to have a solid teacher. It's 6th grade, so that's exciting. Last year of elementary school and all of that. So I'm going to just use that as my high. It was probably the better of all the things that have happened to me today. Hey, fellow tacklers. We thank you so much for listening to our show. If you're interested in supporting us, we would be ever so grateful. You can donate to the Tackling Tomfoolery podcast at patreon.com/Tackling Tomfoolery. Getting off to our main topic, we are discussing bad breakup. Oh God, hurt feelings and slashed tires and busted windows and bleached clothes and all left shoes but no right ones and and ghosting and don't date him girl.coms and whatever else. I mean, I guess we could talk breakup in general. I don't know. I just know we're trying to keep it light. There's so much heavy, horrible stuff happening that bad breakups actually sounds like something fun to talk about because it's not a hurricane, a tropical storm, a murder, or anything else like that. Not a wandering-eyed woman lying to us. It's just something fun to talk about. I guess I'm gonna start talking about ghosting because I've been hearing so much about the concept of ghosting probably over the past year. And I guess back in the day, it just didn't have a name. You just be like, that fool fell off. I don't know what happened to him. And now people are calling it ghosting. And its topic was actually suggested to me by one of our listeners because she has been a victim of ghosting twice. And
Oh my gosh.
Twice.
That's twice. And I don't even know how to get a grasp on, okay, I've just decided this isn't working for me. So I'll just completely disappear from your life without even telling you this isn't working for me. I'm just going to act like I've never seen you in life. I don't even know how anybody's able to do that.
I don't understand. Well, I mean, I've read rationale from people. It's interesting to me because what I've seen men say as their reasons for doing it are very different from what I've seen women say are their reasons for doing it. I don't agree with either. I don't understand. It seems really hurtful and cruel to me. And I respect people that can admit, yeah, I did it. Here's why. I was on the fuck shit, but this is why I did it. I respect that. It's not anything that in spite of that, though, I don't understand it and I can't imagine ever doing it. I can't.
Well, what I'm trying to figure out is if you're just talking to someone and you stop returning calls or whatever, that's one thing. But these people talk about being in real relationships. Like, I know your mom, your kid. I've dropped you off at work. I stay at your house most of the time. And I'm trying to figure out, like, how does someone disappear from that? Like, do they have magic alternative like Lilyhammer lives where they're just like, oh, and I'm gone? Like, how do you just drop out of your own life? I don't understand. I really don't understand.
Yeah.
I think the closest I've ever gotten to something like that is kind of what you were talking about, Francie, in terms of you're just kind of talking to somebody, getting to know that person, and it's not a full-on relationship. It hasn't gotten serious. And then you're just like, well, it's just not even worth me having the conversation of why this is not working for me. So I remember being in high school, and I barely liked boys in high school. Hell, I barely like men now. I like my man, but But I was talking to this boy, and it had maybe been a week. He came over my house, and it was a Sunday evening. He came over, hung out for a while. We sat, watched some stuff on TV, talked a little bit. And then my mom was like, hey, well, it's like 8:30. So time for your company to bounce. And I was ready for him to go anyway. So I was like, all right, you got to go. Late. Everybody got to go to school tomorrow, whatever. And I walk him to the door, and he turns around and is crying. There are actual tears coming out of this child's eyes. Well, that's what I said, Am. I was like, wait a minute, why are you crying? Yeah. I said, well, what happened? What's wrong with you? I'm thinking, did you hurt yourself from the living room to the front door? Like, what's going on? I just don't want to leave you.
Oh my God. What?
So I said, see you tomorrow. Right. So I'm annoyed and weirded out. Next day, I'm already thinking, I've got to get rid of him because he's clearly crazy. And I get to school, a bunch of kids are standing in one area. I'm walking by. He sees me, walks towards me, and kisses me in front of all the other kids. So now I'm really outdone because I wasn't really with PDA in the first place. I definitely didn't want anybody to know my business and who I was or wasn't talking to. And you're not my boyfriend. So you can't just walk up and do that in front of people or at all, even if no people are here. Who are you? So I'm livid. And so I did, I guess, the closest I've ever done to ghosting. I just quit talking to him. He'd see me in the hallway, between classes, and he'd be like, hey, and I'd just keep walking.
Hey.
He reached out for me, and I just moved my arm and kept walking. So I had to do it for several days for him to get the picture of just stop talking to me. I felt like anyone who will cry over going home after a visit wouldn't have been able to grasp me saying, oh, this isn't working for me. Let's just be cool. The end. I don't think someone like him would have understood that. Once you blubber on my mama's porch, there's nowhere to, I don't know what to tell you from there. So that was the closest I ever got to ghosting somebody, and I can't say that it was exactly the traditional definition of it.
Definition, no.
But for me, it wasn't even me trying to diss him. I just need to get away because he was crazy.
Yeah, I think that's different. Absolutely. Not only in execution, but rationale. He was not sane and it wasn't cool. And you had to establish distance, whereas more stereotypical ghosting, everything seemed like it was cool.
Right.
We was kicking it.
Right.
And then somebody fell all the way off. And the other party has no idea what, why, where, nothing.
But
they just dematerialize. Like on Star Trek when they go to the other planet with Yeoman Jenkins, and Yeoman Jenkins ain't coming back.
Shout out to Eddie Murphy.
I like that you knew.
Of course I know.
And at least I didn't say Spock Jenkins and the Jenkins boys. Nice. No, it's Jenkins. Spock Jenkins. I don't think I'm sure I haven't done it to anyone. The closest thing that I can think of, I was seeing this cat 9,000 years ago, and we were hella cool. I'm gonna have to fix up this story to protect the not innocent.
To protect the innocent.
To protect the not innocent. We were hella cool. We lived in different cities, but would see each other regularly enough, right? We were cool. And one day I went to call him, and this was pre-cell phone, and his phone was disconnected.
What?
And I was like, what? And understand, when I say it was pre-cell phone, that means it was also pre-internet, pre-Facebook, pre-Instagram, pre-Twitter, pre-Snapchat, pre-any of those places where you could now go and peep and be like, has he posted? None of it. Phone disconnected. Just like that. And I did not hear from him for a few months. And then this N word popped up, called and like, hey, what's up? I was like, what? What's up? What in the whole entire hell is wrong with you? How are you? The unmitigated gall of you, sir. Yeah. Unfortunately, I would like to tell you that I said the unmitigated gall and hung up and never talked to him again. That's not how that happened. It's not how that happened at all. But I remember it very clearly because of how I felt when I went to call him and his phone was disconnected. As it turned out, he'd moved, like to another place and to another city. Not that that's an excuse. That's just, the specifics of it. But I just felt so bereft. Like, what? How? Like, not knowing anything, and we were kicking it, and now you're just gone. What? Oh, my feelings were so hurt. My feelings were hurt, and I was worried because I'm kind of a worrier. And then I went from hurt feelings and worry to just being mad. I was just mad. Not mad enough not to smash again eventually, but I was mad then. I can't speak for the lack of sense I had and the lack of judgment, but
I'ma still hit it, but just know I'm mad.
I'm mad, but I'm not trying to block all my own blessings with my anger.
Yeah, don't do that.
No, we don't want to be out here blocking vaginal blessings, and we didn't then anyway. I'm just saying.
We don't want to throw the penis out with the disconnected phone.
Nah, why? Well, then, I don't know. Now we don't have time for these ball-headed reindeer games. But then I was youthful and a little bit more reboundable, a little bit more flexible. I was more bendy. Some snap back emotionally was better then than it is now. I don't have the time.
Yeah. Now you'd just be dead to me.
Okay.
Oh, phone disconnected. Oh, died in the fire. Anyway.
I used to work with this girl.
You have any stories, friends?
I used to work with a girl who had the guy ghost on her. Mm-hmm. He came back, I think months later, and they talked it through. She was, of course, like, "What happened to you? And you made me look stupid," and blah blah blah. And he did it right before her sister got married, so she'd been planning to take him, and then she had to go to explain to her mother, who was really overeager for her to be settled down, that, he was not going to be with her. But he talked his way back, and she let him back in, and then he left her exactly the same way after they started talking about getting married. And I was like, I guess to your earlier point, sometimes it just happens like that, but she was not young. So to me, I'm like, no bad news bears. Like, you've already told me everything I need to know. Like, why are we picking up again? No, we're never doing that. Like, never. Right. But I honestly cannot fathom in real life what that looks like. Like, we're cool, we're hanging out, and then all of us, I think it's so rude, and I don't know who set things up to let people think that was okay.
Yeah, the reason I've seen men say that they ghost is because they just did not have it in them to have the conversation. They're conflict averse, they just couldn't do it. They ran from it. Women that I've heard talk about doing it was something that I think you said earlier, Francie. They weren't that deep into it, and they didn't feel like they owed an explanation. And they're just done, and they didn't have to tell anything, and they just bounced.
But isn't that okay, so when I was in Mississippi, I was talking to this guy, and he was a very nice guy, like super, super nice. Everybody knows when I first moved to Mississippi, I cried for the first 6 weeks. And so he really, helped me as much as he could. He did some really nice things for me. My birthday's around that time, so he hooked me up for my birthday. He was just super nice. But I knew that like one day he called and said he was coming over, and then he showed up and he was drunk, and it was like, oh no. No. Like, you drove here drunk? No. I mean, for me, it was just like not just a red flag, but like a big, like, we're way too old for you to be driving around drunk. Like, who does this? And so for me, that was the end of it, because I was like, okay, you clearly are not. I mean, like, there were some other things too that we had already talked about. But then he still like wanted to hang out, but I was like, oh, I'm done, right? Like, this is the, and so we sometimes did hang out just like, oh, we're going to grab this Sonic breakfast burrito, but nothing serious. So when my mom came, he knew my mom was coming, and he kind of rolled by the house and was like, oh, no, my mom's here. And he's like, oh, I was thinking I could meet your mom. And it was like,
oh, I remember that.
Why did you? No. Okay, I'm just going to talk to you later. And I think his feelings were really hurt. And then he didn't talk to me again, but I wasn't calling him because I was already done. And then we ran into one another, and he's like, it was like you didn't even notice that I stopped coming around. I was like, why? Why would you come around? We were already done. So I feel like that, to me, does not fall into this category. I was very clear, like the day after the drunk, like my life is crazy. I can't be talking to somebody who still thinks driving drunk is okay. Like, this is ridiculous. And again, there were other things. I don't want anybody to think that was, I mean, that's a big thing to me, but that was not the only thing. But still, like, I could maybe see on his end where he would say that I fell off, but I didn't just fall off. I was like, no, we're not. No, I'm finished. Like, we can hang out. We can euphemistically kick it, but I'm finished. So that's the closest that I can say that I have ever come to. No, I don't know. I'm sorry. That story doesn't even fit, but that's as close as I would come if it was someone that I really knew and was hanging out with, But like, if we're just talking, like, no, I just didn't return a call. And then I do think though, if you don't just return a call, if you don't return a call or a text or whatever, and someone is like, hey, what's going on? Like, worried, like you were saying, AM, I think you owe it to them to say, oh no, I'm around, but not for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the worst, I can't say I've had a lot of bad breakups. I mean, as a divorced person, obviously that shit wasn't sexy. But I think in dating, not counting my marriage, I was like 19. Yeah, 19. And I started dating this guy, and I thought he was like just the best guy ever. He was super nice, super chivalrous, and he was romantic, and he cooked dinner for me, which doesn't usually happen when you're 19.
Right.
He was very engaging, and he wanted to meet my mom, and he did. I met his mom, and we were just, I don't know, I took it as some kind of natural progression into something else. We didn't even get to the boyfriend-girlfriend stage yet, because it had only been maybe a month, I think, that we've been dating. And then all of a sudden, he just quit calling.
Oh.
And when I would call, he would not talk to me. I'm busy, if he answered at all. I was just like, what's going on with this dude? So that went on for a couple days. And so then I did catch him at home, and I was just like, well, is there a problem? Because you've gotten real different in just a few days. And then the last time we saw each other, it was cool, and then now it's weird. So is there something wrong? And he said, well, what do you think? Do you feel like something's wrong? what do you think the problem is? I said, well, either you're completely crazy or you're just disinterested now. But if that's what you are, then you can just say that. That's okay, And that man said to me, well, you knew the job was dangerous when you took it.
What? Mission
Impossible?
Gosh.
Come on. Really?
I was so... wait, what? And so when he said it, I kind of paused like, one, that's mean. And then two, like, dude, fuck do you think you are, like, for real?
Hey.
Like, I don't know who you... Come on. So I said, oh, okay, well, that's clear enough. Bye. That was the end of the conversation. So I might have been sad for about 3 hours because, as we just discussed, 19-year-old bounce back is amazing. So
it is.
I was sad for a couple hours because I did like him. I thought he was this super cool guy. And then I found out a couple weeks later from a friend, his old girlfriend had come back in town.
Mm-hmm.
And he got all engrossed in that relationship. Had gone all through high school, I think. And I knew I knew about her. And he, when she got out of high school, she was going away to college, and he was not going away, going to college locally. And he was like, "Please don't leave." And she was like, "I'm about to bounce and get my education, son." And then he cried and fell all on his knees in the gravel, he said, and asked her to marry him, which I don't know how he was going to support marriage as a child, but whatever. And she was like, "Oh, no, silly, there won't be any marriage." And she, got on a plane and went to school like a sensible girl would do.
Okay.
And so she came home for the summer, and I became irrelevant. So that happened. And I do want to note that like 100 years later, 20 plus years later, that fool turned up in my inbox on Facebook.
What are we doing here?
As they do.
As they do. And I'd forgotten all about him. And turned up and he looked so different from the way he did when we were 19, So at first I was like, who is he? He was just like, "Oh, I saw you on so-and-so's page, and, you just seem cool." And he didn't come at me as someone who knew me. And then we chatted a little, and I'm looking at his Facebook page, but I can only see so much because we're not friends. And then I was like, this man looks familiar. And he also had a different name, changed his name. And so, man, look, is this one dude I used to talk to? So as we're chatting back and forth, I said, "Hey, is your birth name such and such?" He's like, "Yeah." I said, "Well, yeah, I've already dated you. So now I'm not interested in dating you now." And who's that woman on your Facebook page? Is that your wife?
Oh, hell.
Well, but we're not together. We're not together anymore. Oh, but she's all over your Facebook page. I'm gonna need you to have a good day somewhere else. Just get on out of this inbox and find you some business. Because even if you didn't have a wife, you wouldn't have any business with me. Because like I said, I already dated you, and you weren't shit like 20 years ago. So I'm not interested now.
It didn't get better.
I'm gonna need you to get on away from here. You still ain't shit. So, but yeah, you knew the job was dangerous when you took it. I will never forget that.
That's terrible.
That shit was so foul.
Malik and I have a friend who, this to me is one of the worst breakups ever. He was told that his girlfriend was pregnant. He moved out of state to take care of the baby, gave up his life and his interests and everything. Only to have the woman cheating on him. And when he busted the woman cheating on him and was like, if it wasn't for the kid, I would leave. And she was like, well, it's not your baby anyway.
Ooh.
But he was already out of state, had already left his entire family, had already given up his job. I feel like that is so mean. I would never do it. So can you imagine this is your breakup, but you can't just leave because here you are in a place you don't know anybody and you don't have any money because you've been taking care of this baby that's not yours.
That's how people's houses get burned down. I mean, not that I'm condoning burning down houses, although I do feel a certain way about matches, but that's another story. What do you do when that happens? Do you just like write a letter to Ndugu? Like where do you go?
Yes.
Dear Ndugu, today I found out the baby is mine and I changed my whole life for nothing.
Yeah, it's terrible.
I also do, though, have a friend who was dating someone very regularly and the breakup happened when she got the wedding invitation for him and someone else. Rude.
What?
So rude.
Yes.
I've heard of that happening to people. And it has happened to someone I know as well. Well, I dated someone and he wasn't my man and it was super casual, but it stopped being casual or anything else when wife inboxed me.
Yes, I remember it.
Leave my husband alone. I was like, I didn't know you had a husband, ma'am.
Right.
I had no idea. This is news to me. I said, I didn't know anything about that. And she said, so she starts sending me, screenshots of our email conversation.
Oh, no.
And I said, oh, no, honey, I didn't say I didn't know anything about him. I don't know anything about this, about you and him. Have a good understanding of what I'm saying. So you might need to have a conversation with him. Probably not so much me.
Right.
Because I don't really care like that. Still be talking to him. But this is a chat that you should probably have with that guy. Because I didn't come out of nowhere. So you might want to. And you might want to find out how many of me there are.
Right.
You might have a lot of inboxes to send today. But I really did get a literal leave my husband alone inbox.
And she looked like the type who would be like, leave my husband alone.
She did. She really
looked like a
did.
classic leave my husband alone type. I don't know how to describe that, but I'm sure, Francie, you can envision a woman who would do that.
And he would
like I said, fine with me.
Right. That's exactly how I felt. I'm like, girl, we don't even live in the same state. Ain't nobody think about him. And, he would sign his emails Bezos. And she was like, and no more Bezos.
Oh, boy.
I was like, this woman actually thinks she's hurting my feelings and she doesn't know how hard I'm laughing right now. I'm like, why are you? And I just said, why are you talking to me? You don't have any reason to talk to me, none at all. And I am not thinking about that man from thousands of miles away. No more Bezos.
Yeah.
Girl, bye. Tell that to his other boos all over the country.
Malika, do you remember when I was talking to that guy and we went back to his house?
Ooh-wee.
And I don't know if you've ever heard this story, and this does not qualify as like, I really liked him. We had so much fun together, and this really was not his fault, but I knew that it was just too murky a territory for me to continue on. But we had come in from somewhere. I don't remember where we came in from. We was late. And we came into the house and he was like, "Did you leave this light on?" And I said, "No, I think the lights were off when we left." And so I could just hear him hollering, "What are you doing here? What is going on?" And so I walked behind him into the bedroom, and on the bed, laid out completely nude with like hair fanned around her and rose petals on the bed.
Oh no.
It's his baby mama. And he's like, "How did you get in here?" And so she's trying to be all come hither, but I'm standing in the doorway dying. And he's just upset. And I felt so bad. Like, he was so upset. He was like, "What is going on? Like, how did you get here?" Because he was like, she had never had a key. Turns out, his mother really wanted them to be together. And so she had kind of engineered this plan. But I was like, you had a friend come over and help you get arranged with these rose petals and everything. And how long have you been waiting like this? And aren't you cold? Like, I feel like I would have had to wait under the sheets.
Francie with the practicalities. It's nippy in this room, lady. Aren't you chilly?
Oh, oh, and you can't even watch TV because you have your hair all fanned all carefully. Oh, I hollered. And he was like, "Why are you laughing?" I was like, "This is the funniest shit ever." And so that was not a bad breakup. Like, he was like, "No, I had nothing to do with this, and I didn't think he had anything to do with this." But it's like, if your mom wants you guys to be together that badly, there are so many other things that you need to be worried about in life, because this woman is clearly crazy. But that, to me, is the best breakup story ever. Like, it was so good. Like, for a while, this was before texting or whatever. So sometimes, like, we still talked occasionally, and sometimes I would just call and say, "What if you walked in the door?" And I was just like that on the bed. Oh, God. Oh, that's so good. Oh.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of just good breakup stories. Well, I mean, divorce is always, as Malika said, that's always the nonsense. I guess, like, just on the surface, as far as bad breakups are concerned, like the kickoff of it, I know Malika knows this. Francie, I think you know, but I'm not sure. So my second husband, the way that he told me he wanted a divorce is we were having an argument, not even a substantive argument, but an argument nonetheless. And I was trying to talk to him, and he was totally not paying me any attention on purpose, looking at the TV. So I went to stand in front of this big old TV and demand his attention and say whatever it was I needed to say. And I said it, and he just looked at me in the most casual way possible and said, "It's been cool, and we've had a good run, but it's not working anymore, and I want a divorce."
What? That's not how you get a divorce.
We've had a good run. Do you hear me? Like, we were a Broadway play.
Right.
Or football team. It was a good run. What?
That's what you say to somebody you've been playing down at the hoops with down at the gym or something like that.
Right?
Oh, what?
This N-word said we had a good run. And I was like, huh? What? Yeah. That was how officially, like, the shit came to a close. The curtain came down on that
is
marriage.
Rude.
Yeah,
that's rude. That's really rude.
That there are other horrifying details to add too, but really, that's the most startling one. We had a good run.
We had a good run. It's not a limited release movie. What are we doing right now?
We had a good these 13 years. All right. Good run. Good job. But it's not so much anymore.
And then he high-fived.
Give me 5.
Right. High-fived me, and we pat each other on the butt and went on about our business.
1, 2, 3, go team. 1, 2, 3, good run. I mean, what kind of?
Well,
That's terrible. Yeah. I did not know that story, but that is
I couldn't remember. I thought maybe I told you, but I wasn't 100% sure because, I mean, by the time we got to be friends, like the worst dust had settled. Whereas when Malika and I got to know each other, like dust was settling, but it was not all the way settled. You know, it was still swirling around a little bit. But yeah, then one time I went, this isn't a breakup story, but it's kind of a ghosting story. I went on this date with this cat one time. We went to play pool and I had a really good time, right? It was cool. And he was older, but he had kind of like a swag, and he knew he had a swag. So he told me we were having a drink because after we played pool and like a little chemistry was good and everything. This fool was like, I'm interested in seeing you, but I forget how he said it in some old player ass talk, but basically he was like, I want to see you, and I'm going to be also over here seeing these other brides, but you can't see nobody else. I can't have any woman that I'm dealing with no another dude. And I literally laughed. Like literally, he sounds like, really? Yeah, no, I'm serious. I such and such and such. And I met him. We were at R15, I think. I met him there. He walked me to my car. I drove home and never took a call from his ass again. I didn't take a text. I didn't return a text. I didn't take a call. And this was when I was working at the Clary Lion on the door, which is where I met him. And then he stopped coming for like a really long time. He did not darken the door. And some months later, I wasn't working, but I was there and I was walking through the parking lot to my car, and he drove by and he stopped. Like, hey, girl, hey. And I turned around and he saw it was me and he drove off.
Oh, that's right. I tried to put you on the stroll before.
Right. You don't want to come this way again, man. It's not for you. Malika, you would remember him, I think, if I told you.
Oh, yeah.
You remember that story?
Mm-hmm. I was just thinking, I had a R15 pool date too. It did not end on a high.
Pool is fun. It's, I've always wanted to learn, and I still don't know how, but it's fun to mess around. And it's also fun to have somebody try to show you if you're attracted to them. If you're not, then that just gives a motherfucker some reason to come get all up on you and put his hand on yours and all that other kind of stuff. But if it's cool, yeah, pool can be sexy.
Well, I can tell you all that I realize this is bad breakup, but I'm going to go ahead and give this quick bad date story because I've had 2 pool dates in life. One, like I said, at R15, that we were polite enough to each other while the date was happening, but we clearly didn't want to talk to each other ever again. And we did. And then I was young, I don't know, 20, 21 maybe. A friend of mine is talking to this guy. She's like, oh, you want to hang out tonight with one of his homeboys? And he asked me to bring a friend, and I don't like blind date situations at all. They have never gone well for me, but I was trying to accommodate her because she really wanted to hang out with this dude. And so we get to the guy's house to pick him up. And we go in because he's not yet ready. And when he comes out, he he had on, the khaki the Pendleton. The red corduroy house shoe. The red rag. He was a full-on blood, and he was also full-on ugly. And
did he make you flour soup?
He can. Yeah, cooking something in the crock pot. Yeah, so he came out sliding across the carpet in the corduroy shoes, and of course, he was stepping on the back of it. I mean, I guess what self-respecting blood would put the whole shoe on? I mean, that's crazy talk. Excuse me, crazy talk. So anyway, we went to shoot pool, and he tried it with the, you want me to show you? Nope, I got it. I don't know how to shoot pool. I didn't know what the hell I was doing, and the balls were going every which way, but where they needed to go, they were not going in any pocket. She said. Mm-hmm. Well, hopefully she didn't say that, but
or him, I don't know.
Right, we don't want those to go everywhere, and so. But I was like, "There's no way I'm gonna let this man walk up behind me and put his arms around me to show me anything about pool." So I actually just played one game and sat out the rest of the evening just drinking because I didn't want him to try to slide up behind me in those corduroy shoes. Okay. So. It was a brazy night. What can I say?
Well, at least he didn't take you to the Oak Park Market to barter food stamps for money for gas in the evening. Like Azura's day.
With an EBT bard.
With an EBT bard.
Well, I do have an Oak Park Market bad date story, but I'll save that for some other time. I'm sure we'll have a bad date conversation at some point, because we all got plenty of those.
Lord Jesus. Yes.
But anyway, I guess we can all agree there are just some raggedy punk ass ways to end it, when really just all be adults and just be like, this shit ain't working for me. Not we had a good run if you're married, but
no, please don't.
Maybe save
I don't recommend that to anyone.
Save that for if you're just dating, briefly. Then you can be like, we had a good run. Anyway, so let's gonna get off into some shout outs. I'm gonna start it off because I was not prepared like I should have been, but I'm a shout out after we done questioned some fashion choices. I am gonna shout out Serena and her beau and the new baby, because the baby's precious. And
I saw a video today.
So shout out to
baby.
The greatest and her new baby.
Well, that's a natural bridge to my shout out, because my shout out was for just Black girls playing tennis, period. And I did want to mention Serena, whose response to Darth Maria's ridiculous book of shade was basically just to put out pictures of her baby and her rich husband, and silently say, you might have that endorsement money, but I have everything I need right here. So shout out to Serena and to Venus and to Sloane, who I think is adorable, looking at her big old check, and even to Madison, who's still trying to figure out what is happening in her life. And even though I'm not holding it against her, I do just have a little bit of shade. And I just want to say she is delusional as hell if she thinks Julia Roberts is going to be... Now, look, Julia Roberts is quirky and cute, but she's also 50. So she would not be cast to play you, ma'am, in a biopic. And then I will rudely add that maybe you better settle for a Maori, since that's about where you are on the food chain. And I do mean Tia or Tamara. Or maybe even Taj, because okay. That's rude. I know. I'm sorry.
Francie.
The point is...
Oh, and Taj Blazer. Damn it.
I know. I can't even...
It's rude. I'm sorry. I'm just... And really, I don't mean any particular... It's not commentary. I'm just saying that he's younger and they all look the same. But not... He and his sisters, I mean. But anyway, Althea Gibson would be proud of you all, and good for you for holding it down and letting people know that Venus and Serena are the originals, but not a fluke. I do feel like, though, that Madison, like, I feel like Billie Jean King would really take her in her arms and tell her a truth or two, because I just feel like somebody needs to talk to her about being American, but it's cool. And they're my shout out. Black women, tennis. Boom.
My shout out is to, I don't know how to say her name. Is it Jamela Hill? Jamel? Mm-hmm. For being out there and telling them Twitter truths about 45. And all of the people getting up in arms about what she said, about said truths. But I noticed when it came time for the mea culpas, ESPN made the apologies. She did not.
Damn right.
And I feel like she was out there being, and I never say this, but in her case, if what I suspect is true, I feel like she was out there being a badass bitch and was like, I'm not taking back shit. I'm out here telling these truths. If y'all want to distance yourself from my statement, that's fine. I hear you, but I'm not walking back anything. I'm grown. I actually thought about what I tweeted before I tweeted it, unlike this ashy-ass motherfucker in the White House. So no, not retracting. You guys do you. I think that was dope as hell. I hope that I'm not putting bad juju out there, and now tomorrow she tweets like, to the fans, but I appreciate what she said because she was telling the truth, and I appreciate that she didn't step down, and that was the boss move. And shout outs and high fives and a little bit of dap to her.
Agreed. Agreed.
Yeah.
Bless her heart.
Okay.
Anyway, we thank you so very much for listening to another episode of the Tackling Tomfoolery podcast. I am Malika Rogers.
I'm Francie Moore.
And I'm A.M. Lewis.
And we out of here.
Thank you. God bless. And good night.
Tackling Tomfoolery is produced by Bren Inman for Evergreen Talent Collective. For more information, find us on the web at www.tacklingtomfoolery.com, on Facebook at Tackling Tomfoolery, and on Twitter and Instagram. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, or SoundCloud, and make sure you rate and review the show, as that helps people find us. If you'd like to contact the show, email us at tacklingtomfoolery@gmail.com or leave us a voicemail at 916-573-1065. Let us know what tomfoolery you're tackling. Thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you soon.